Well, hello and welcome to our live guest interview. And we really appreciate you joining us again for another episode. Today we have on my mentor and the only person that was ever really willing to train me in real estate, Dr. Rick McGrath, who we love and esteem highly. And of course, my co-host here on the show, my co-pilot, Daniel Salino, who's now a real estate agent. And so we want to quickly introduce our guest, Rick McGrath, who's here to share with us. Thank you for joining us, Rick. It's so good to see you again.
Well, the pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
I look forward to this session.
We're so glad you're here. So I'm going to do the second and third question, but Daniel's going to start off with the first question for you. So Daniel, what is your first question that you have for our guest?
Well, Dr. Rick McGrath, my first question for you is, how is it being a mentor to Catherine and now seeing her mentor me as you once were the mentor for her?
And that's an excellent question. When it comes to mentoring, I believe mentoring consists of responsibility, complexity, as well as reward. Understanding the complexity, when you take on the opportunity and the responsibility to be a mentor, that's is the drive to help somebody become the best that they can become. The complexity, when I say that, is that anytime you are involved in trying to mentor someone, you're asking them to trust you and to believe in you, and that in doing that everything you're going to tell them is going to make sense and really help them to achieve their goals. And of course, the reward comes in the part that if done right, ultimately the end reward is that person becoming successful. And watching Catherine over the years grow, becoming, going from mentee to mentor, and of course from student to teacher, is the final reward any mentor, especially a mentor like me, can hope for.
Well, thank you for that, Rick. I know you told me that I would have to give it back one day, that was the deal we made, that I would.
It is, isn't it? And it's the pay it forward philosophy. Mm-hmm. Again, you help someone, they in turn owe and are obligated almost to help somebody else, and passing on that philosophy to the next person and the next and the next. And generation after generation, if we can carry that philosophy forward, the world will be a better place.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I love that philosophy too. I agree with you. The world would be a better place if we treat one another good, and then other people treat other people good because how they were treated once themselves.
No, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So Catherine, would you like to say?
Oh yeah. So my question is, in your free time, I know now you've picked up photography. And so did you want to tell us about your hobbies that you're doing now?
Yeah, again, just touching on that idea of free time or hobbies, I think, this business can be very, very consuming if we allow it to be. And noting that, I'm sort of a rare breed. I'm not like everyone else. Real estate for a very long time wasn't just a job, wasn't just a business, but in fact, for me, it was a passion, which in fact turned out to be my hobby. Though again, like I say, not everyone's like me. As we all know, that anyone that has spent any time in this business, that while real estate is rewarding, it can also be very brutal. And the majority of people do need something to engage in, non-real estate related, to escape to. As I'm winding down my final push, getting into retirement, I've taken up photography, landscape photography to be specific, which kind of started out with the idea of traveling. You're going to see things that you haven't seen before. Then the idea that, gee, while I'm here, why not photograph it? And then as I began to photograph it, the more and more my wife and I both sort of got swallowed up into the idea of photography itself. Now, of course, we're out doing that. And in fact, later on today, we're going to take off and photograph a sunset at Donnell Vista off of Highway 108.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm so happy, especially about you and your wife spending more time together. I remember when we were working together, she was, probably missing out on so much of your time. So that makes me really happy to hear that you have this hobby together. And then I also wanted to ask you, what drives you to be successful in real estate? Whatever drove you in the first place?
Well, that's the $5 million question, isn't it? What is the secret bullet? As realtors look for that magic that's going to take them to the top. I think, first of all, in my personal view, my personal philosophy, it has to do with mindset. And in saying that, the only limitations that we have are the ones we set for ourselves. We all heard and are familiar with the favorite line and famous line, the sky is the limit. Well, in my opinion, if you set the sky as the limit, that's as far as you can go. But what if, and how I believe, I set no limits. There is no sky is the limit. There are no limits, which unleashes the opportunity for me to soar as high as I possibly can go, further than the sky being a limit. So I think that's number one, is how you perceive things, not allowing other people to dictate, what your limits could be based on their limitations. I think the next most important element is that written business plan. I've stayed faithful to that for 30 years. And that means that every October would come around, I would sit down and I would write out all the things I wanted to achieve the following year. So if I set the idea that I wanted to make $250,000, $300,000, I would break that down all the way down to the smallest increment of my daily activity. So if ultimately it wound up that I needed to have 10 listings a month, that means that I had to get up and make sure that I wrote a listing contract every 3 days, which, if you're working 8 hours a day, is extremely doable. But that written business plan it's a roadmap. It tells you when the next exit is, where the turnoffs are. You get up in the morning, what should you be doing if your day is going to start at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 10 o'clock, from 10 to 11, from 11 to 12, and so on and so forth. I think the difference of those that are successful and those that aren't is those that aren't, they have no idea what they're going to do the next day. And when the next day comes, they may go to the office. They have no plan. They don't know, should they be talking to people, prospecting, working on their website, working on their Facebook ads, whatever their goals are and how they're going to achieve it. You got to have that business plan. Yeah. Without it, you'll never achieve success. That's been my belief forever.
Yeah, Ricky, it's such a great point, because so many realtors literally don't know how to self-design, self-strategize, self-implement, self-structure. I want to say self-structure. They don't know how to self-structure. So we had a partner recently, Holly, we had a partner on our marketing team, and she used to say, it's really easy to be a bad real estate agent, which is basically if you don't have any plan or discipline or structure or implementation of your goals, it's super easy to be a failure in real estate.
Oh, absolutely. And when I came into the business, I was told real estate was the best paying, hard working job there is, or it was the easiest, poor paying job opportunity. So yeah, exactly. If you just show up and you're not, doing anything, you're going to wind up being a failure. And I think, again, it's activity begets productivity, as it said.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to constantly be focusing on something every minute of your business day.
Yeah.
So yeah, ultimately success is driven by those things.
Yeah,
And
Daniel and
think,
I were
yeah,
starting to do some of the things you used to do. Sorry to cut you off.
no
We started
worries.
the door knocking, and I shared with Daniel that the best agents all started door knocking. So we're doing some door knocking of people who are like in my neighborhood, in his neighborhood, people who are maybe ready to downsize, people who have equity or maybe want to move away. Those are the people that we're reaching out to. And I keep thinking about you and how you started out, how excited you were, and how you shared with me about your car was so bad that you'd park around the
Yes.
corner, but you didn't care. You would just go there, you would they'd ask, well, where's your car? They said, well, it's around the corner, whatever, right? So you didn't
That's
care.
right.
You just started, and that's our philosophy with our marketing team that we have now. We just start. We don't worry about, like our video today, it looks like the green screen's not quite working, but we're going to go through with it anyway because we have a
Yes.
great guest. And it's not perfect, and
Thank
it
you.
never will be perfect. We were so excited to be with you, and for whatever reason, God has decided to make the green screen not working properly today, and Daniel's head is fading in and out. But maybe if you're a fan of like science fiction movies, you'll just share, just get on board with us today. We're a science fiction show today. We're doing science fiction today.
Yeah,
That's it. And again, it is. It's you can't let the small stuff get in the
Right.
way.
That's right.
Ultimately, business is business, and in order to be successful, you can't wait for perfection because it'll never be there.
Yeah, I love talking about that for you and the way you just go forward anyway, even though your car was terrible and people were going to judge you for your car, but you didn't care. You did not care. You just park it around the corner and keep going. I shared that with you, haven't I?
Yeah. And that story reminds me of actually, I've had, skin cancer and other things like that.
And we're really, we're so glad you're here because we know you had illness.
And
that's why your time is so precious to me.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But the thing is that I would be bandaged up, but it didn't stop me from going to my appointments. I would tell them on the telephone when they called, by the way, I don't look all that great. I'm all bandaged up, but if it doesn't bother you, it doesn't bother me. And let's just get together and let's get people off to their next adventure in life. So
it's so amazing. Yeah. I know I get hives attacks and I would show up and my eyes would be swollen and then I would put the sunglasses on, but nobody ever really seemed to notice. I know I got a hives recently when we had the COVID-19 shot. I got a terrible attack. I had to have Daniel open the door. My husband, they both had to come with me because I was so shaken up by the COVID vaccine and the hives attack. I could barely stand, but I wanted Daniel to see that we go forward anyway.
You push forward always. Yes.
Yeah. Well, now it's time for Daniel. He's a little anxious to ask you his questions. He's got one for you.
Sure.
All right, Rick, my next question for you is, I myself am very family oriented. So I wanted to ask you, are you much of a quote unquote family guy?
Admittedly, that life is a growing process in which, you learn by your mistakes, you learn by your successes. And in this business, family does tend to take second fiddle. And it's different for everyone, whether you're a man, you're a woman, you're the sole provider and things of that nature.
Which you were, yes.
Yeah. And so ultimately, I wish I could say my family played as much a priority in my life as my business, but that really isn't so. And Catherine's known me for a long time, so I'm not going to tell you something that's not so. But as I look back on my mistakes, I think if you're going to be in this business, part of that success, going back to that business plan, is to incorporate family. I think that's extremely important.
Which you did,
you
which
know,
you did. So I have to cut you
yeah,
off because you actually
yeah,
did. So I know you shared this with me
yeah,
before, and I know you said that before, but I was thinking about it going up to this interview, and
mhm.
it's actually not true. And you would say that, for example, Daniel, it's just a matter of time when agents would leave you, but Katie never left you. So your daughter, Katie, and these people,
No,
and your granddaughter. So
yes,
when do you really think that family, so you did bring your daughters in, you brought your
yeah,
granddaughter in
and
now,
I think there's a
but when
certain
would they
part of
really
it.
leave you? Because Katie never left you. She never has
No,
left you.
but I took the question more as to mean, you know, the importance of family
That's what
first.
Daniel meant by it. You're correct.
Yeah, and I think so, and a little bit different. Well,
Is it?
yeah,
You
I
brought
think
her in
so
and you
because
trained her, and not every father would
yeah,
have done that. My father took me into the family business,
sure,
and he took but he didn't have any sons, so
yeah,
he had to take us in.
sure.
You didn't have to do
But
that.
I think at the same time, I think um, you know, paying more attention to family, meaning that in your business plan, you set your hours like you would in
Okay.
any business.
I
If
see.
you're going to work from 9 to 6, you work 9 to 6. After that, you want to incorporate that, from 6 to 7, you're with the family, you're
That's right.
paying attention to them. They, letting them know that
Yeah.
they're as important to you as the business is. And I
Yeah.
may not have always done that very
Yes, I
well.
can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, for mentoring purposes going forward, what I would tell people that I have opportunity to mentor, that family, in fact, is as important as the next appointment is. Because if you don't have the support of the family and, they're not there to kind of make life a little easier, then, you're going to struggle. And I think, again, as Catherine, as you and I both know, this is a brutal business. And, it's great when you can come home in victory and the family's all yay and cheering and you're going out for dinner or ice cream or a vacation. But it's also important when you come home with that feeling defeated, when that transaction falls apart. And it may be that one transaction that, it's between, you really needed that paycheck to pay the bills, to put the food on the table. And when you come home and you go, family, it wasn't my fault, the deal fell apart, whatever happens, but there is going to be no paycheck. Everybody's got to be able to either, love you and say, that's okay, we'll get them tomorrow. I think that's where the importance of family comes in.
Yes, sir. And you're so
Yeah.
right. But let me ask you this. Do you really think at your volume level, at your kind of manic, almost addictive passion for real estate? I mean, you outsold everyone in the whole MLS by yourself one year. I mean, do you really think at that level of real estate agent behavior or real estate broker behavior in your case, that you could have spent more time with family? Really? Do you really think so?
Well, no, but I could have cut back on, on that addiction or that being manic.
Okay.
How it's how much money does one person really need?
I don't think it was money for you, though, was it?
No, but at the expense,
I think it was more like just being okay. So this is like a regret.
It is in a sense, and again, I've always been open and honest, and I don't mind raising my hand and saying I'm the one that fouled, in a sports analogy. But ultimately, I think it's critical that agents find that happy spot, because it is. And I've been my whole life has been more than an A type personality. Everything I do is I'm an overachiever. I guess that's the best way to define me.
It's incredible. What you've done is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, when I was an engineer, I received over 100 monetary awards for my contributions. When I was growing up, I was a track star. In real estate, in realty world, I received over 60 awards for my production. So, yeah, everything that I do, and if I get passionate, and even photography, I enter these daily Facebook group contests, and I've amassed over 2,300 photography awards. I don't need any more, but yet every day I still enter.
Yeah, it's
just
a thing. It's a thing for you. That's your thing.
it is. It's
Yeah.
it's that thing, and it again, it's about balance, and I hope young real estate agents will find that balance as they go forward. It doesn't give them a license to be non-productive, but you don't need to be overproductive.
Yeah, it's an addiction like
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
So actually, his next question, Daddy's next question, really goes into this. He's got a mortality question, which is very poignant at this moment. Go ahead, ask a question.
First off, I want to say thank you for that lesson that you talked about. Talking about some mistakes you made in the past is never necessarily easy. So that's a valuable lesson for me to look forward to in the future and learn from, and not have to experience it personally, because I listened and learned from your experience. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. So for the last question I have for you, I want to ask, as time goes by, how is it dealing with the adversity of life and death?
That gets into some really philosophical elements, but
Daniel and I are both very philosophical. That's really
and again, just speaking for me, because I'm not your average ordinary individual, and admittedly, for me, for the most part, though, like everyone else, I do have my little ups and downs and bumps in life, but life has been pretty easy for me, so I don't struggle with life in that sense. I do have or at least they tell me that I have a incurable disease, but just because somebody tells me that doesn't mean that I have to mentally and emotionally accept that diagnosis. So to me, I'm still me, and I don't really take and put too much weight in what somebody else says. To tell me that I have an uncurable disease simply means to me, and how it translates back into my head, is that, well, we just don't know how to fix you yet. So that's okay, It doesn't mean,
isn't it? That's like
it doesn't matter.
Mantra.
Mindset, right? It's mindset.
Yeah, mindset.
But I do
we
understand.
We all have an incurable disease called life. We're all
it is, right?
Get out of here alive.
Exactly. So, but as I do get older, I do understand and realize that time moves incredibly fast. If the next 15 years of life moves as fast as the last 15, it basically tells me I don't have much time left, in saying it that way. So what's important for me, and when I answer the telephone and talk to people, and much like we started out earlier, is, how are you doing? One day at a time is my response. And when people ask, well, how are you doing? One day at a time. I don't say I'm doing well, I'm doing bad. I'm doing one day at a time. And so what that really means to me is that when I wake up each day, I wake up grateful that I woke up, but my goal is to live life to the fullest, to get everything out of life I can. It also means that in living the fullest, that means I hope to touch as many people as I can in a positive way. And I hope to be able to leave the world today better than I found it today. So if I do that each and every day, I'll have lived successfully. And because I also believe in eternal life, I believe ultimately in the end, we need to be, as believers, a reflection of our Lord and Savior. And if we can do that, I will end with this. If we can do that, then we've lived an amazing life.
Yes, Rick, you're right. And you've been an amazing mentor to me, and friend, and comfort and supporter. And I tell a lot of people, you've sometimes been controversial in real estate, especially due to commissions and people defensive about protecting the 6% commission and things of that kind. But I've always told everyone that whatever you have put into me, no one else would ever have offered to me. And I will never be able to think badly of you because of what you have done for me personally and
Appreciate
gave
that.
to me. Yeah, you took a chance on me and you spent time, which is I'm spending time on Daniel. I'm giving Daniel the skills of being a realtor, and nobody will do that for you. Nobody will spend even 1 minute with you in real estate. It's a very
It's a brutal business. Yeah,
it's a brutal business.
Yeah.
And after 3 years, I was at the end of my rope when I met you. And you know that you would come and ask me to work with you a few times. And finally, I called you pretty much in tears. I remember I was in tears. And you were still willing to, it was 2007, I think, at that point. And so that was 2005. So I was getting towards my 3 years of just total heartbreak and frustration in this business of nobody showing me contracts. Larry Mattis showed me contracts that one time, but he showed me incompletely. I'll say incompletely. And I showed.
Funny that you mentioned his name, because he was my first success story.
I know.
Yeah.
I wanted you to get to say that.
Yeah.
I know Larry Mattis, who we all know and love, who became Century 21 M&M Associates, and that's where I started. And Rick was part of his early training.
Wow.
So we have a lot to be thankful for. And I want to thank you for your military service. I know that you're.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I don't believe that your life was easy. I don't really believe that. I think your life was hard. I know you have a lot of talent and skill, so maybe it was easier for you to do real estate than it is for me. Maybe it was easier, but I know that you've actually done a lot of hard things.
Yeah, but again, it's all a mindset, and and I think at the end, it's how we come out of adversity, and because that
Yes.
I think adversity can also shape us. It can mold us. It can destroy us, or it can make us better, and make us great. And so whatever adversity comes my way, if and when it comes my way, I try to look at it as an opportunity, not something terrible, but something wonderful, so, and if we can just pass that on and help other people see that, and give them that hope, that's all we can ask for as mentors.
That's wonderful, Rick. Well, we're only supposed to do about 10 to 15 minutes, and I don't know how long we've been.
Yeah, I think we're kind of stretched our limit there, but yeah.
I knew we would, so that's okay. But
no worries.
Once again, thank you for spending your precious time with us. And we look forward to continue to be in contact with you and friends with you until any of us leave this planet, which none of us know when. Hoping that when we do, we'll go to be with our Lord, which will be better than being here.
Yep, I agree. All right, folks, my pleasure. Thank you
for everything.
Yes, and
the opportunity. We'll see y'all later.
All right,
take
thank
care
you
now.
to our guests for joining us. And we hope to see you again on the next episode of Live Guest Interview with myself, Catherine Knightsby.
And Daniel Salino.
Yes, and thank you to our audience. And don't forget to call us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and call me on my cell phone. My name is Catherine Knightsby, and I can be reached at 209-988-1173. And we hope you join us on the next episode of Live Guest Interview. And thank you again.
You guys have a great day.
Bye-bye.
I'm beginning to see the light.